Coming up next on a special Sunday edition of Locked On Devils, the Diablos have more wins on home ice than the New York Rangers have scored goals all season. And Madison Square Garden. Cue the intro.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Devils your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the lovely folks at FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. My name is Zach Berman. You are tuned in to Locked On Devils, where we talk all things New Jersey Devils here on Sunday, November 9th. And guess what? As it stands right now, the New Jersey Devils are 11-4-0, good for first place, sole possession of first place in the Metropolitan Division after yesterday's 2-1 win in a shootout over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Give it up. Give it up for the boys. I was up in the press box yesterday at The Rock and was keeping the seats warm for James Nichols and Ryan Novozinski. Novo's in Oklahoma. James is in Florida with what's going on with the FAA. I don't know if any of them are going to get back. So I might be a seat warmer for a little bit here. But guess what? It wasn't always pretty. At times it was difficult, frustrating. We'll get into why. But the two big pieces to why yesterday went the way it did both start with the letter A, and that would be the names Arseny and Allen. Jake Allen. Let's begin with Mr. Jake the Snake, who was just mind-bogglingly stupendous yesterday, bailing the Devils out through large stretches of the game. Stopped 33 of 34 shots that he faced. The one goal he gave up was a kooky deflection on a shot by former New Jersey Devil and the recipient of probably the worst defensive contract in the National Hockey League at the moment, Ryan Graves, old friend, a slap shot that went off the face of everybody's favorite New Jersey Devil, Andre Palat, and into the net. If there is a more New Jersey Devils sentence that one can possibly read, please find it for me. Please. But other than that, really the one frustrating moment of a game that was dominated by Jake Allen, who had to stand on his head. Like I said, Pittsburgh outshot the Devils 34-24. The second period and first period in particular, Pittsburgh outshot the Devils 12-6 in the first 20 minutes. It was tough sledding for them. And a big part of that goes to credit that the Pittsburgh Penguins deserve. You look at their team, you look at their roster, and Pittsburgh was expected to be sellers coming into the year. They were expected to be tanking for Gavin McKenna. They have a new head coach in Dan Muse, and he runs a system that is so tenacious with their forecheck that they are one of the best coach teams I've seen the Devils play all season long. They're disciplined, they're smart, they're calculated. He's turned Sidney Crosby back. I mean, Crosby's an ageless wonder. We know that. Evgeny Malkin looks like he's 26 again. He was fantastic. Gino looks like Gino. You have Erik Karlsson, who looks like Erik Karlsson again, which is, who saw that coming? And you have contributions of guys like Ben Kindle, who just came into the league, top 15 pick this past year. He looks sick. He almost won the game twice in overtime yesterday. Stoned by Jake Allen on a breakaway, and then Jake Allen, the little check, got the stick in, boom, right there. It was amazing. And Artur Shilovs was fantastic in net for Pittsburgh. The Penguins outshot the Devils by 10, but the Devils had, I would say, a large majority of the high-quality chances in yesterday's game. Jack Hughes had like 4 or 5 grade A chances and was robbed on every single one of them. It didn't necessarily show up on the charts, but the eye test told me that yesterday was one of Jack's best games of the season. He looked like Jack, like the best version of Jack possible. But Pittsburgh's forecheck was seemingly always finding the Devils' fourth line and third pairing defense and pairing it with the Crosby line or the Erik Karlsson defensive pairing. And for large stretches of this game, the Penguins had the Devils hemmed in. And when you look at that Pittsburgh roster, when you look at the group that they are trotting out on the ice this season, and you look at where they are in the standings now, a singular point behind New Jersey for second place in the Metro. If Pittsburgh makes the playoffs this year, and before yesterday, I was not convinced that this was for real, and it still might not be, but I think if the Pittsburgh Penguins make the playoffs this year, Dan Muse is going to win the Jack Adams, and deservedly so. He is doing some job with this group, and they've been really impressive. But there were plenty of aspects about the Devils game yesterday that impressed me just as much, if not more. And that begins with Arseny Gritsyuk, who had the best underlying stats out of any Devils skater yesterday, scored the only goal for them in regulation on a play that was stupendous on both ends of the ice. Devils are hemmed in. It's the final minute of the first. And he single-handedly clears the zone, gets the puck out towards center ice. Chris Letang settles it back in the Penguins' defensive zone. And Letang, he is likely a Hall of Fame candidate, one of the best offensive defensemen of my lifetime. That's a play he's going to want to forget about because he simply passes it right to Gritsyuk, who, to his credit, pressures Chris Letang into just making an absolutely boneheaded pass into the slot. Gritsyuk takes it, goes right to the net front, and roofs it past Artur Shilovs. It was the only goal the Devils scored until the shootout, and it was awesome. Blew the roof off the building. I asked Sheldon Keefe postgame how he felt about Arseny Gritsyuk's game in his own zone, because everybody knew that when Ray Shero drafted, the late great Ray Shero drafted him in 2019, his journey through the KHL, he was an offensive guy, and it is so tough to predict whether a Russian skater, cough, cough, Nikita Gusev, is going to come into the National Hockey League and be able to adjust to the change in the size of the ice and how they are going to perform in their own zone. And Arseny Gritsyuk, not only is the offense coming, we might have seen the first spark of it today, but he looks so comfortable in his own end. And I asked Sheldon Keefe, I asked him, are you necessarily surprised by how mature he looks in his own zone? And this is just a snippet of what was a really long-winded but great, insightful answer by the Devils head coach. He's able to make quick adjustments and really hasn't made the same mistakes that he's made in the preseason. That's a sign of intelligence. He can skate with anybody. Again today, I'm putting him out consistently against Crosby or Malkin and not even thinking about it twice. At what point? And I listened to the PDO cast Thursday night. That was after the Montreal game, of course, before he had his arguable best game as a New Jersey Devil yesterday. Listen to the PDO cast, and Dmitry Filipovich made note that he thinks that Gritsyuk is going to explode offensively and needs to be put on the top line with Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt. Stefan Nason needs to be back in the bottom six. That is where he is best suited. As much as everyone was begging for Andre Palat to be taken off of line one, the Devils have been significantly worse at 5v5 with Andre Palat off of Jack and Bratt's line, which is crazy to think about because Palat was not great in that line. But I think we've reached the point where we know that Gritsuk is responsible enough as a defensive player where he can and should be on that top line. And if that happens, when that happens, maybe, just maybe, the Devils' solution for a top 6 winger was there all along. And it is a little bit crazy to think about because he's a kid coming over from the KHL. Nobody knows what he's going to be. To say, oh, he's going to be the next Kaprizov, you got to put these crazy high expectations on him. Or how can you trust him? We saw what happened with Nikita Gusev. He's not going to be that guy. This kid's going to be a solid player at worst in the National Hockey League for a long time if this is what he looks like as a rookie. The Devils are lucky to have him. He's going to hopefully be part of this organization for years to come. And I don't think you have to log on to Telegram to see how good he's looked. The other thing I want to note before we go to break, I'll get into a little bit of the ugly after because the Devils did get outshot yesterday. I was a fan of 2 out of the 3 defensive pairings, and this comes off the heels of Dougie Hamilton getting hurt on Thursday's game, or on Thursday night, so to speak. Sounds like we dodged the worst case scenario with Hamilton. Keefe said pregame it was going to be at least a week, but hopefully not much more than that. I think we found something in Jonas Siegenthaler, Simon Nemec, and Luke Hughes, Brendan Dillon, because those top 4 guys looked as good as they've looked all season. Siegenthaler had his best game all year. Nemec, I would say, had his best game all year. Luke was solid in his own end. Brendan Dillon continues the Brendan Dillissance. Also laid a vicious hit, a clean, beautiful textbook open ice hit on Tommy Novak that is probably going to be in the hype video come tomorrow night and for the rest of the season afterwards. It was awesome. Woke a sleepy early afternoon crowd up. I think one of my favorite moments of the Devils season thus far. Those 4 guys, until Dougie comes back, that has to be the grouping. That has to be the grouping until we see otherwise. I really like the Hischier, Mercer, Meyer line. Nico Hischier has been, I don't think he's 100%. He took a maintenance day a few weeks ago and hasn't looked himself since. And something tells me he's playing through something. Well, he's probably playing through a little something else because yesterday he decided to block a shot with his face in the middle of the third period, a slot shot from Brian Rust, who was left all alone. He blocks it with his face, whistle's immediately blown, gets up, goes to the locker room, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, this team can't afford another injury. I didn't see any blood, so probably concussion protocol. He comes out a few minutes later, and the building just erupts. Yeah, the Rocks chanting, Nico, Nico. Oh, so cool. And that is why, even though he might not be playing his best hockey, might not be 100% right now, that is why he is the captain of the New Jersey Devils, was always the right choice to be the captain of the New Jersey Devils. That is how you lead by example. That is how you set a winning culture, put your body on the line, a big divisional game. Oh, that is the kind of stuff that sets this team apart from previous iterations of the Devils. Those kinds of plays, putting your body on the line in a critical moment in the third, tying the game late against Montreal, those kinds of things, that's what gets the job done. That's what makes the differences at the end of the year. It was a pretty cool moment. I'm trying to think if there's anything else crazy on the good side of things that I want to talk about during the game. Is there anything that comes to mind? I thought the Devils played very disciplined yesterday. Only committed 1 penalty the entire game. Oh yeah, the shootout. The Devils won the shootout 2-0. This team doesn't win shootouts very often. I was a fan in 2013, 2014. I know how it felt to go 0 and whatever. That was the best the Devils have looked in a shootout since Zach Parise and Ilya Kovalchuk were on the team. And I didn't think he necessarily played his best game during the first 60 or 65, but that's why Paul Cotter is here. Maybe he's got a little Jacob Josephson to him because he's awesome in the shootout. He pulls the Zach Parise out, goes forehand, backhand, forehand. It beats Shilov's. And then Brian Rust comes back, tries a similar move on Jake Allen. Jake gets the pad to the post, beats him to the iron, keeps the puck out of the net. And then here comes Jesper Bratt, who puts the exact same move on Shilov's that Cotter did. Beautiful, slick, blows the roof off the joint again. And then to seal the game for the New Jersey Devils, who are still perfect at home, Jake Allen stops Sidney Crosby on the backhand. Devils win 2-1 in the shootout and keep pace with the rest of the division. They will finish up a 3-game homestand tomorrow against the New York Islanders. I'll preview that game tomorrow on Locked On Devils. We're going to take a quick break. Wow, that was almost a 16-minute segment about a game with 3 goals. Yeah. And I'm not done, but I'll get to some of the ugly after the break here on Locked On Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private. It's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LOCKEDO on NHL. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDO on NHL so that we know and that they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. Welcome back. Locked On Devils here. I'm Zach Berman, and I think I might be a better hockey player than Dennis Cholowski. I'm probably not, but you get the gist. Since Brett Pesce, and now especially Dougie Hamilton, have gone down, there has been an increased workload for Dennis Cholowski, and he is bad. He is really bad. Like, I get why they had to trade for him last year just because he was a warm body. But what did the Devils see from Dennis Cholowski that said, hey, we should keep this dude around because now he, can they just bring Ethan Edwards up? Yesterday, he was terrible. And had by far and away the worst stat card out of any Devils skater. Was brutal. And that was before he was used in the 3-on-3 overtime. I forget. I got to go back and watch the game again because I got to see exactly where it was in OT when I saw multiple Penguins with offensive possession, and then number 44 in red racing back to try and catch up to them. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, oh my God. Colton White was actually pretty decent yesterday. Cholowski was replacement level at best. Oh gosh. He was just, obviously he's not going to be, God willing, a factor on a healthy Devils team. But I think the moves that have to be made are plain and simple. Dougie's going to be out for a week. So that would mean tomorrow night for sure against the Isles. Wednesday in Chicago for sure. Saturday in DC for sure, I would say. and then maybe we'll see him in Florida. Until then, maybe Seamus Casey. I think Casey's had a rough go of it. I'd like to see Ethan Edwards get the look. I liked what I saw out of him in the preseason. I think it would be a prudent decision. That, and then putting Grits on line one, maybe even swapping his spot with Stefan Nason. I actually thought that Andre Palat had a decent game yesterday. I thought Cody Glass have something nice. I think, the swap is Nason down. Well, that makes things interesting. Okay. I was going to say put in Brian Hallinan over Luke Glendening. Lamico is fine as a 4C. Glendening is just, he doesn't bring anything to the table. But they just sent Hallinan down to Utica, which means that either Connor Brown or Zach McEwen is back. Oh, yeah, Connor Brown. Remember him? We got an update on him this morning, or should I say yesterday morning, from Coach Keefe. His return is not imminent. I guess he's still day-to-day, whether it's actual day-to-day or Taylor Hall day-to-day for 6 months. Remains to be seen. Don't really know what happened to him. Last we saw him was in San Jose on October 30th. But I liked what I saw out of McEwen in the one game he played. So, yeah, I would get – those are the changes I would make. And then just Cholowski to the Shadow Realm or Utica or anywhere but the New Jersey Devils blue line, because they are 11-4 right now, but it's going to get a lot tougher because they got 5 games on the road after tomorrow night against the Islanders, who we'll get into what they did yesterday. Oh, boy, that's fun to talk about. Because on Wednesday, you have Chicago, and the Blackhawks are looking formidable. Connor Bedard has taken that step, and it's awesome to see. Capitals on Saturday night at Capital One Arena. I will be there. Might be doing a little bit of something before that game. I think you guys are going to, especially longtime fans of the show, you're going to love it. I'll keep it somewhat coy. Tuesday night, November 18th in Tampa at whatever Amalie Arena is called now. I'm blanking on the name. Oh, it's some weird name. Benchmark International Arena. Ugh. That and the arena name change in Minnesota to Grand Casino or whatever it is. I'm not a fan of either of them. Then Thursday, November 20th in Sunrise, Florida, against the defending champion Florida Panthers. I will be at all 3 of those games on the road. Won't be in Chicago. We'll be in D.C., Tampa, Sunrise. And then they wrap up the road trip in Philadelphia on Saturday the 22nd. So that's a long time to be away from home again with a beat-up defensive unit. Dennis Cholowski cannot be part of that unit because Allen has looked great, has had 2 rough games in San Jose and Anaheim, but has looked great otherwise. Markstrom, you don't know what you're going to get from him on any given night. Are you going to get the Markstrom that gave up 1 shot on 40-plus save attempts in L.A., or are you going to get the Markstrom that gave up 8 goals in Colorado? You don't know. So the best remedy for that is just to catapult Dennis Cholowski to the moon and just keep him away from things, because I don't know if Ethan Edwards or Seamus Casey is the answer, but I'm pretty confident that Dennis Cholowski isn't the answer. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we can laugh at the New York Rangers here on Locked On New Jersey Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel right now to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back here, Locked On Devils. We'll do an early preview of sorts of tomorrow's Devils-Islanders game. If the Devils win, they can be undefeated at home until as late as November 24th. That's the next Devils home game after tomorrow at night. So the Devils have a chance to stretch that streak to 8 consecutive wins in Newark. It's going to be tough, though, against a feisty New York Islanders team. Oh, my gosh. Oh. Feisty New York Islanders team that is being led by a transformative start from Bo Horvat. 11 goals, 7 assists in 18 games. How about the kid? First overall pick, Matthew Schaefer, has been excellent. And oh yeah, they shut out the New York Rangers last night at Madison Square Garden. Oh, the Rangers lost again at home. Oh my God. They have been shut out 5 times in 7 games at home. What? How? Why? Who cursed the Rangers, man? It's probably Sean Marash. It has to be Sean Marash. Oh, whoo! Sorokin was excellent again. He has been a tough nut to crack this year. But the Islanders, in their first year where they're allowed to have facial hair and have fun now that Lou Lamoriello is gone, yeah, they're kind of in that middling spot right now as an organization, but you can also see where things are headed. And the Devils have had a tough time with the Isles on home ice recently. The Devils have had success at UBS Arena, but it's been tough sledding for New Jersey at home for the New Jersey Devils. And it's interesting. The Devils lost both of their games at home against the Islanders last year, have not won against the Islanders on home ice since November 28th of 2023. The Islanders had not lost or not won a game at the Garden in 3 years before last night. So, are streaks meant to be broken? They were not meant to be broken at Madison Square Garden yesterday. We'll see if they are meant to be broken tomorrow night in Newark. But we'll do a quick preview tomorrow of the Devils-Islanders game in full. Of course, a recap of that on Tuesday, and then we can go from there. But thanks for tuning in on Locked On Devils. Thank you. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff.